That has to come in. You must commit. I don't want to abandon myself. I'm here with me. But you're training your brain. Oh, that scares me. Oh, that scares me. Oh, that scares me. You're not to say that like 108 times. Like you're sticking it in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You're making an intention. You got to realize you got to take responsibility for making intentions. So if you want to train yourself over and over and over again to be miserable and to suffer, you'll get that result.
Yeah, we think our thinking is not important, but it is really important.
It's really important how you're training your brain.
Yeah.
You know, I'm really getting into self-directed neuroplasticity, and how you're training your brain is really important. And we're going to do another step with this, even more than this. So she kind of liked some guy. He was showing interest in her, pretty much gave indications that he just wanted to be friends, but he was showing interest in her. And then she finally asked him, maybe, I'm not sure the facts, like what's his intentions or where was he at. And essentially he said he liked his lifestyle as it was and that he wanted to stay friends. Okay. What she repeated over and over to herself is, he messed me around, he played with me, how come he gets to decide? And then how you program your mind is really important. So the issue was, how come he gets to decide and not me? Why does he get to decide and not me? So she was running with that. So not only did that make her sad, it made her angry and it made her miserable. So she was sitting there angry and miserable, and it was all made up. So I was like getting empty, thinking, okay, what's the best way in? But the other thing I was noticing is I remember when a lot of you did that like 80% of the time, and now a lot of you do that 10% of the time. That's a giant difference. Just get that. That's a giant difference. The next thing is, she didn't have a clue that she was doing that. And she didn't have a clue that that was what she was doing to herself, that self-inflicted abuse was making her suffer. She didn't have a clue that she was doing self-inflicted abuse that was making her suffer. She actually thought he was doing something. And I thought, so this is what we do all the time. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And when your friends are doing that, or anybody you love is doing that, it's really important not to support it, because you're supporting their self-inflicted suffering. You know, it's kind of important to say, I gave her that example that I give in all the Codep courses. You know, somebody's looking in this window and she feels turned on and she feels angry and you feel threatened and fearful and I feel excited and you feel like they're totally wrecking your privacy. You know, all they're doing is looking in the window, and our reactions are because of our history and our biology and the culture we're living in, and our reactions are because of all of that soup. But it's not because of that, right? When a 3-year-old does not get the truck he or she wants, the 3-year-old is angry because they did not get the truck that they want. When you're a little kid and you want another piece of cake and the person won't give you another piece of cake, you felt angry because you did not get what you want. So I said, you are angry because you're not getting what you want. Now, what's beautiful about sideways learning, and you're all getting it, is if you can get it sideways, that's why I'm using her. It's not half as hard as when you're trying to get it direct, yeah? Like if Claire does some things in our friendship that really pisses me off, I'm pissed off because it's not going the way that I want it to go. And I might say, how come Claire has a right to have it go the way she wants it to go? Or I might do all kinds of things with that. If Claire's a good friend, she needs to do this and this and this and this. So, when I'm not getting what I want, I say, stop. Got it? Stop. Tap it out if you're hanging on to the feelings. Where am I at with this? I don't like it one bit. What would I like out of this? Do I want more time? Do I want more connection? What do I want? You can't get out of asking yourself that question. What do I want? Then the next question is, do I want to make moves towards what I want, yes or no? Now in this case, when you're in resistance, like in this case that I'm giving you, I said, what do you want? She said, clearly I don't have a say in what I want. I said, you do. That person does want that person. You need to decide whether you are open to this person or not. If this person doesn't want to be connected to you on the level that you want, where are you at with that? Is that okay with you? Is that not okay with you? Can you have a friendship like that? Can you have a friendship when somebody has temper tantrums? You have to ask yourself, can I have a friendship with somebody who has temper tantrums? Or can I not? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. You can't say, what do I want? I want my friend never to have a temper tantrum. Okay, let's say that's what you say, because that's what we all say when we're totally codependent. I want my friend never to have a temper tantrum, and I want my friend never to get irrationally angry at me when I didn't do anything. Let's say, then you have to catch, do I have any power changing other people's behavior? Do I?
No.
Okay. Then you can say, I can share that, but do I have power to do that? Do I want to use all my life energy to make that person a better person? What do I want? Okay, that person's getting angry occasionally, maybe once a week, maybe 3 times a week. What do I want? Okay, I want that person in my life. Okay, so if I want that person in my life, what do I have to do? Oh, maybe I need to figure out a way that I can let them be angry without me being so thrown off. Or you decide I don't want that person in my life. You got it? Mm-hmm. So what happens when you're resistant, or whatever we want to call it, when you're trying to keep yourself in suffering? We try to keep ourselves in suffering, and we also try to keep ourselves helpless. I was doing that with my friend, keeping yourself helpless. They are angry, no reason. What do I want? Okay, I want to stay friends with this person. I need to figure out ways not to take this personally. What can I do? Got that? We really fall down on this. All of us. It's kind of human nature. And then it comes down to what the brain is programmed to do. So it's not actually your fault, but you don't have to be a slave of your brain. It's programmed to look for problems and to solve them. And that's what the brain does. Looks for problems and to solve them. So the brain's doing that. If you keep doing that, you keep yourself in lack. And then that's your fault. You're choosing lack. You're choosing unfulfilledness. So you need to catch that. Tap out the helplessness. I'm not helpless right now. I'm not helpless right now. It's a feeling I'm making up. I'm not helpless right now. I let go of that. What do I want? Besides, I want to recreate that person according to my image of them. Besides deciding that, which I call codependent grandiosity, I want to recreate that person according to my image of them. Get that? Can everybody get that that's not a good thing to do? Good. It's really awful when I say that and people think that's a really good thing to do. Then I get stymied like for a while. So then I have to backtrack and kind of prove that that's waste their energy if they want to create everybody to their image. I don't know where we got the idea it should be effortless. We have some crazy idea. It takes effort. 2 minutes, gone. Okay, then in another 10 minutes, you've jerked that bad conditioning back and you're a puppet. 2 minutes, gone. In another hour, you jerk that bad. You're the one that jerked it. You jerked that bad conditioning. You've said it. I'm no good. I'm no good. I'm no good. I'm no good. You're doing it. You jerked it back. Tap it out. Peace. Decide I don't want to jerk this back. Does this make sense? Decide I don't want to jerk this back. Now the next bit. This is all we're gonna play with this today. And you won't like the next bit either. The next bit is you get secondary gain out of this bad habit. So, you get obvious secondary gain or you get subtle secondary gain. You know, let's say you're smoking cigarettes. You might get obvious secondary gain, whatever the nicotine's doing for you. But you might get secondary gain. Like, I remember in the old days, whoever smoked cigarettes got to have smokos. And they got to like go out and smoke with each other, chat. And it was a nice little feeling, you know, and then they'd go back to work. And you could do it with people you liked, but you also could make friends that way, you know, like you hold up a cigarette and somebody else comes out with you. And so A, you get to have a little time with somebody you like. B, you get to make a new friend. And you get to feel intimacy. Little smoko, you know. So the secondary gain. And I remember conscious people saying the worst part of dropping cigarettes was the loss of intimacy. And this one couple, I read it in a book, and sorry I can't remember to give you the facts, the factual thing, you can look it up, but they both dropped cigarettes, so they were playing tennis, and what they used to do is signal each other and have a little cigarette together and then go back to the game. And then they both dropped cigarettes, so they were dropping all those little things out of their relationship. And the whole relationship was different. All those little moments, I don't know how long it takes to smoke a cigarette, you know, but all those 2 or 3 minute breaks dropped out. After good sex, you know, and the other one cuddles up, and then they drop that. So the next reason we do this is secondary gain. Why? Because we're too lazy. We're lazy. We default to the old. The brain defaults to the old. It's effortless to default to the old. So you want that intimacy? You smoke cigarettes. Does smoking cigarettes give you intimacy? Not necessarily, but yeah. You know, the secondary gain's real. So what do you have to do with secondary gain? You have to figure out another way to do it, which is a pain in the ass. You know, nobody said it's easy. Does that make sense? Now, let's say you got a bunch of girlfriends and all you do is bitch and moan together. Well, you quit bitching and moaning. You quit deciding that you're not going to abandon yourself anymore. You got nothing to talk to all these girlfriends about anymore. And then your little heart breaks and you feel sad and you feel left out. And you don't have that girlfriend and now you don't have two girlfriends. So you have to make some other way to connect with them. And that's difficult. I'm sure you all experience this kind of stuff, yeah? Everybody's nodding. It's not like effortless, is it? You can be the boss. But the other thing, when she was doing that loop, I was thinking, man, I remember when you guys did that and you guys thought that was normal. Do you remember? And now when you do that, you don't think it's normal. How do you think when you get stuck in a loop like that? What do you think? Think like, this is terrible. Does it make sense? You think this is terrible. It's not normal.
It's painful.
Painful.
Self-harm.
This is self-harm. That's really different than thinking this is normal. Even if that's why I'm smacking you with it. If you can even think this is painful instead of this is normal, it helps. Does that make sense? Your energy goes, you go where you have energy. You follow your intention. You follow where you have energy. So that's just what you do. When you're doing a canoe, you follow where you're looking. You follow where your energy is going over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And you got to watch. Maybe you got 30 years into programming yourself a certain way, plus the conditioning, plus the gender stuff, plus the cultural stuff. If you want to go against that, it takes some effort. So we did this exercise. And the exercise was, what would happen if I accepted that he's like this? What would happen is what we're working on right here. I would have to decide, what do I want to do? I would have to decide, what is my next move? Does that make sense? And what's so good about that question, it gets a secondary gain. Instead of bitching about my partner all the time, what would happen if I decided he's like that? A, I'd have to decide if I want to be with him. B, I'd have to decide, how do I want to deal with that? Does that make sense? The other example I gave, we're in a sophisticated thing, and we'll get to the sophisticated parts this afternoon, but now we're just cleaning the shop. When I used to be teaching all the codependence and addiction stuff, I made a rule, no repetitive fights. You weren't allowed to have a repetitive fight with any human being more than 3 times. So if you've told somebody you hate the way they wash the dishes 3 times, then that's it for that year. Even if it's your kid. And no repetitive fights with yourself more than 3 times. And what do you have to do instead of a repetitive fight? You have to shut your mouth and breathe. What does that do? It forces you into a solution. And so the example I gave is I used to let my partner drive the car and I wanted him to give me input into where to park it. So he would drive my car and he'd never give me input into where to park it, and then I'd get mad every time, right? So we had a repetitive fight. Then I decided I have to not do this. I'm teaching it, I have to not do it. So I shut my mouth and I would just breathe. Well, then I thought I was going to go crazy, because I wanted input into where to park it. And what was happening, by arguing with him, I was draining off my energy, right? Well, when I had to keep my mouth shut, I couldn't stand it. So the next bit, I had to realize I let him drive because I don't like to drive. So then I had to decide what's more important to me, driving the car myself or having input over where to park it. I had to decide that. Does that make sense? I didn't like that decision. That's what happens. What did I want? I wanted him to drive it and give me input to where to park it. I didn't want to decide to drive it. So I was choosing to have that constantly for years. Does that make sense? So I finally said, okay, I don't want to abandon myself anymore. I'm not doing repetitive fights anymore. I'm not doing it. And can I let this go and just let him park it wherever? No, it drives me crazy and we have a bad time because I make us have a bad time. So, okay, how can I make me be healthy? I have to drive my own car. So then I started driving my own car. It only lasted like 4 days. You know, and I don't like driving it, and he hated me driving it. And then he goes, okay, I'll drive it and you can have input where to park. So sometimes you get your way, but sometimes you don't. I'm not guaranteeing that you'll get your way. But it never solved in all those years we were fighting about it. Does that make sense? Because what was happening, the fight was draining off my energy. So you think you're going to die when you shut your mouth, especially when the person's irritating you to death, you know. Especially when the kid's doing something over and over and over. But it makes you think of a solution. Like, I remember the younger generation does this better than us. Like I said, don't you get mad at your friend Jim for never doing the dishes, I said to Joss. He said, Jim's never going to do the dishes. And he goes, no, I'm not going to be nagging him to do the dishes. I said, well, how are you solving that? Don't you feel bad about that? He said he has to put in an extra blah, blah amount of money for the cleaner. And he goes, that's easier than having him do he goes, I'll just do the dishes. So got that? They have it down. Like, he wouldn't dream of trying to make a friend of his that's never going to do the dishes. Like, why would I do that? Because girls do that. Chicks do that. Why wouldn't you? He goes, what would be the success rate in something like that? And I go, well, girls do it all the time. But it's really interesting. He thought it had no success rate. And then he just thought, okay, what else? What other solutions can we throw around with this? Does that make sense? You can have any solution. You mow the lawn once a month. There's no shortage of solutions. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. You've got a partner that does something you really don't like. I don't know, maybe you want them. You have to decide where you're at. That has to be the first decision, though. Does that make sense? They might decide that he has to go to rehab or something, you know, and you both decide that. But you have to decide, okay, I don't want somebody unless they're clean in this area. Or you decide it's okay with me, but I want it more shaped up, or whatever you decide. You need to know your own reality. See, it's back to that. When I say you need to know what you want, it's really back to you need to know your own reality. You need to know what you want. What do I want? So every time you're upset, what do I want? I don't know what I want. I'm upset. What do I want? I mean, I do it too. I don't know what I want. I'm upset. What do I want? I want her to be different. Okay, besides wanting her to be different, you might have to go through the whole thing. Does that make sense? The other thing I want to tell you is that it works. And that doesn't mean you can't have feelings about it. You can have feelings about it, but no, you're choosing to have those feelings and enjoy them. Get off on them, like them. You know, love them. You're having them. Now, that's the other thing. If you want to kill me when I say you're making those feelings, you might as well like them. And you just want to kill me. What's that say?
Entrenched.
Entrenched. And the second way you know you're really entrenched, if you think, Jessie doesn't understand. As soon as you say that to yourself, my partner doesn't understand, it means entrenched. As soon as I say that about anybody, my kid doesn't know what I understand, my partner doesn't understand, entrenched. Even around big things. You know, I used to have PTSD. You know, that's something else. I had PTSD for like 35 years, and I've cut it like 80%. So I'd have to explain to everybody I cared about PTSD and how it works. And then if I had a PTSD attack and they took it personally, I'd think they don't understand. And then I had to change that. I had to change it to, I did that. You know, whatever that PTSD reaction was, I did that. It doesn't matter if they understand or not. I did that. Where am I at with that? What do I want to do with that? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It feels awful. I'm not saying it feels good. It feels downright awful, right? They should understand. They love me. They should understand. Should. And if you're going to do that, enjoy it. Mm. Does that make... You can enjoy that. You can enjoy everything. They should understand. should. You know, just make a dance. Get into it. Do it. You're making up emotional states. Enjoy them. And you can enjoy those kind. You can enjoy those frustrating ones. No, have a tantrum. Get off on it. Mm. Don't do it from a helpless, I'm a little nothing. Because I'm a little nothing. Is that what the mantra you want to do? So from this minute on, feel it in your body. I want a commitment inside your own self. I don't want to do those kind of mantras. I want to be pro-life.